Hey, Mac. Come here. Look, I don't want this to get around, see, but this very car you're interested in buying, used to belong to a famous TV star.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, let me take it around the block once or twice, just to...
Oh, I wish I could, Mac, but I can't. New insurance law, you see. If you should happen to hit somebody, I mean, we'd be in real trouble. Look, if you like the car, why don't you just sign the contract? Then you'd own it, and you could drive it all you like.
Yeah, but...
She's in great shape. A real cream puff.
Yeah.
And if you should happen to have any trouble with it, well, we'll split the repairs with you, 50-50.
50-50? Well, that sounds like a good deal.
It's a steal. Look, I got a guy right now with all cash just dying to buy this car.
Oh.
But I'm partial to you service guys, you know. Used to be one myself.
Oh.
Now, this is the kind of car that a guy like you ought to have. Look, why don't you just sign right here and she's all yours. $200 down, the balance over the next 18 months. You won't even miss the money.
Marine, you have just made a very foolish mistake.
But I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to the man that sold me the car.
Oh, you see, I'm sorry about that, kid. The guy who sold you the car, he doesn't work here anymore.
He doesn't. But I only bought it this morning, and there's something wrong with it.
Look, this car was in beautiful shape when we had it. Now, we can't be responsible for what's happened to it after you've driven it.
Yeah, but the man who sold me the car said that you pay for repairs 50-50.
50-50? Did he tell you that? That's why we had to get rid of him. Hey, promising things like that, it's against company policy. Now, our contract reads, you buy them as is.
Yeah, but this man says the transmission's bad and the engine needs overhauling. They're expensive to fix.
Look, I'm sorry you got a problem, but we can't help you now. Would you mind getting this wrecker off the lot? It makes a bad impression.
I'll tell you what. You take the car back.
We can't do that.
Well, then I'm just going to leave it here. And I'm not going to give you 1 red cent more. And I want my $200 back.
Oh, want to play rough, huh? Well, let me tell you something. You signed a contract to buy that car, so it's yours. You also signed a note to finance the balance due, and you better pay it, or you're going to be in for some real trouble. But nothing. Now, you got yourself a car, miss, and I'm telling you, get off this lot right now, or I'm going to call the cops.
Nuts.
Yes, Marine, you have made a very foolish mistake. And unfortunately, you're going to have to pay for it. Just as many other servicemen are paying for similar foolish mistakes they've made.
I was cheated, that's what I was.
The world is full of people who will take advantage of you. And it seems that the serviceman is their favorite prey.
Well, I don't know why I just couldn't let them take back the car. You know, just sort of a square thing.
There were 2 reasons why you couldn't. 2 pieces of paper you signed. One is a contract you didn't read, agreeing to purchase the car as is from the used car dealer. The other is a loan agreement to pay for the balance of the purchase price. No matter what happens to the car, you still have to repay the money you borrowed.
Oh, me. I never did understand things like signing contracts and borrowing money and all that.
you're not alone. Managing money can be a very confusing and difficult matter for anyone. You'd be surprised how many servicemen get themselves into difficulty because of unwise buying practices. Some buy things on impulse. They use charge accounts as if what they were buying were free.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Florence. Happy birthday to you.
George, you know it's not my birthday for another 6 months.
Well, happy unbirthday then. I just bought this for you because you're so nice.
George, where did you get the money for that TV set?
I charged it, love. It was such a bargain. It was on sale and I just couldn't resist it.
George, how could you? You know we can't afford it. I know you want a TV set in the bedroom, but we just can't afford this one. We still have 15 months to pay on the one we bought last year.
What difference is another 2 months?
If George had had enough cash to pay for that second TV set, chances are he'd never have bought it. Instead, he let himself get carried away with an impulse credit purchase and has taken a step toward financial difficulty. But it's not only husbands who are tempted into foolish buying practices. Many wives get caught up in department store revolving accounts and find themselves in perpetual debt.
Diane, what's with this $30 charge this month? You know we've only been paying 20.
Well, you know the other night when we had the cookout, I was so embarrassed when we had to set up those card tables. I just about died. So I saw this terrific outdoor table and
Yeah,
chairs.
but why didn't you come and ask me first?
Well, it's only $10 a month more. We can certainly afford that.
Yeah, but by the time we get this one paid off, you'll go out and buy something else and we'll never get out of debt.
All credit purchases should be paid within a definite period of time. Revolving charge accounts are very convenient, but it's awfully hard not to keep using them, especially on purchases that aren't really necessary. The result? Future income is obligated for months or even years. Of course, buying things that aren't really necessary is a major problem for most people.
You're a natural-born dancer. Oh, oh, that's okay. Oh, you're catching on very fast. Oh, all you need to do is develop your natural talent. You were excellent. With a few more lessons, you'll be dancing just like a professional. Here's the contract I was telling you about. 1/3 off if you sign up tonight, and you're on your way.
On his way is right. That contract commits him to months of dance lessons that will cost him hundreds of dollars. Self-improvement courses are fine, if you can afford them. Unfortunately, that thought seldom crosses the mind of the victim.
You're in pretty good shape already, fella. I can tell. Even with that uniform on. But 6 months of our bodybuilding program and you'll be absolutely gorgeous. And working out here is sure better than spending your time and money in some dirty old bar. Come on, sign the contract.
The sales pitch is always convincing, but that contract is loaded with expenses, and anyone who signs it better be sure he can afford it, and that he really wants to see the program through to the end. Once he's signed, he's committed. Many people end up paying for mail-order lessons they never finish.
Hey, Rembrandt, here's this month's bill for that stupid art course you signed up for. What does that leave us now? 21 more payments?
Many young couples have been talked into expensive sets of encyclopedia far in advance of when they might ever need them.
You bought them for the kids. Harry, by the time our kids are old enough to read, these books are going to be ancient history. I'm not even pregnant.
There are people who have made the mistake of using credit to buy costly items from door-to-door salesmen.
What a mess. You got us stuck with a vacuum cleaner we don't need. The miserable thing doesn't even work. And the salesman's probably miles away by now.
There are many different selling gimmicks to trap people into overspending. The easy credit trap of no money down and months to pay has left many Marines with expensive suits and sports jackets they don't need and monthly payments they cannot afford. Remember, you are never better dressed than when in uniform. But buying used cars seems to get servicemen into the most trouble.
Hey, Charlie, look at this transmission. Fill this sawdust.
That's the Marine's car, isn't it? Boy, how can a guy be dumb enough to buy a used car from a place like he did without getting it checked out by a mechanic first?
Yeah, with this transmission job and engine overhaul, he's going to be out nearly $300.
And he only bought it this morning.
Yeah, and then
You can avoid trouble when you buy a used car by shopping at a reputable dealer. But even here, it's a good idea to get an expert's opinion of the condition of the car first. Get a mechanic you can trust to check over the car before you buy it. There's always someone in the motor pool who will help you. His know-how can save you many headaches and considerable money later. Of course, you should never sign the contract, or any contract, without reading it carefully and knowing what is in it. It doesn't matter whether it's a contract for a used car, or a series of dancing lessons, or a house full of furniture. Not reading and understanding what is in it can cause you a lot of trouble. In every case, check out a contract with your legal assistance officer before you sign it. He can alert you to possible problems.
This contract has one catch, Sergeant. It says you must pay the balance in full before you leave the area. Now, how long do you expect to stay in the area?
My tour is up in 2 years, sir.
And you want to pay for this furniture over a 36-month period. If you sign this contract, you'll be obligating yourself to pay for the balance in full in cash before you move. Do you understand that?
I understand that, sir.
Now, if you do this...
Your legal assistance officer is glad to help you. It's his job. Don't complicate things for yourself by signing any contract until he sees it. And be doubly sure never to sign a blank contract. That's a quick way to wind up in real trouble. Perhaps the most important contract you will ever enter into is the marriage contract. Most servicemen expect to marry. But you should ask yourself, is this the right time? Can I afford marriage now? Can I support a wife and perhaps a family? If I do get married, will my wife have to work? If so, will the kind of job she can get lead to personal difficulties? Will she be happy far away from home, living on or near a military base? Would it be better if I waited till my tour is up?
You know what the Sarge always says? If the Corps wanted me to have a wife, they'd issued me one.
Well, the Sarge is a man of experience. He knows the problems young service couples can have, both financial and personal. One of those problems concerns another important legal document, the power of attorney. This lets a wife make financial commitments without the husband's knowledge.
What did you think we were going to do with it?
I think it's going right back where it came from. We can't afford it.
Can't afford it. Came free with a freezer.
Free with the freezer? This thing's nothing but a piece of junk, and you signed a note to pay $600 for it?
Well, look, if you don't like what I buy, why did you give me power of attorney?
I wish I knew.
All major buying decisions should be made by husband and wife together. Even if the husband is overseas, he can usually be contacted quickly to participate in the decision. So a general power of attorney is unnecessary.
Boy, I sure didn't know there was so many ways to get into financial trouble.
It all comes about when people forget that there are many, many demands for their money, and they must use good judgment in how they spend it. Look at it this way. Everyone should decide what he wants out of life. Set some goals for himself.
Goals? You mean like completing your education when you get out of the service so you can get a good job?
Yes, and making plans for getting married and starting a family.
Yeah, and raising the kids and taking them on trips and sending them to college. And then maybe retiring and taking it easy.
That's right. All this takes money. Enough for you to have the things you will need. Enough set aside through insurance and savings so you don't have to worry about the future. Enough for doing the things that are fun. Chances are your goals will always require more money than you have at any given time, but they give you something to plan and work toward. No matter how much money you earn, you should budget it so you know exactly how much you have to spend after essentials are taken care of. For example, suppose a family earns $500 a month gross income. After deductions for Social Security and federal income tax, they are left with a net of $450. Then they have other essential expenses that must be met each month: housing, food, clothing, and transportation. Now they're left with $200. But they must consider such things as insurance, cleaning and repair, entertainment, and savings, too. Ideally about 10% of income. That leaves $80 for buying the extra things they need or want. They can't let their purchases exceed this figure or they're in trouble. Now, this isn't easy, no matter how much a person earns. That's why credit is used by so many people, to help them buy the things they need today with the money they will earn tomorrow.
You mean it's okay to use credit after all? I mean, after hearing about all those financial troubles other servicemen got into, I felt kind of guilty about signing that agreement to buy this car. As my daddy always used to say, don't spend it if you ain't got it.
But using credit wisely is an important way of extending the money you have. Credit plays an important part in most people's lives. In fact, a good credit rating is one of the greatest assets you can have. A department store charge account is another form of credit. It usually requires full payment every month. The problem comes when people forget to plan their purchases in advance, and the total charges exceeds the income they have left over at the end of the month. Another form of credit is used by many people to buy big items like large appliances or cars. Almost no one can pay cash for them, so they pay for them in installments, plus an interest or service charge on the unpaid balance. Again, they have to be sure their monthly installment payments are within their budget.
Well, that's the kind of credit I got buying this car. And I do have enough money left over to make the payments.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but I don't have any money left to get the car fixed. Every cent I had went for the down payment. And now the repair shop says it's going to cost $295 just to make it run right. Is there any way I can borrow this?
Well, there is a third type of credit: consumer or personal cash credit. It allows people to borrow money to meet unexpected emergencies, to make worthwhile purchases, or to meet other financial obligations. Personal loans may be available from banks, credit unions, or consumer finance companies. These organizations have no product to sell, so they evaluate their client's ability to repay the loan. Good character and a reputation for financial stability are the qualities they seek. For these are their only assurances the loan will be repaid. A charge is also made for this form of credit.
Say, I sure am glad you mentioned this consumer credit. Maybe a personal loan is the answer to my problems.
You'd have to pay it back, and I thought you couldn't afford any more payments.
Yeah, well, maybe...
I think it's time you got some advice from your legal assistance officer before you get deeper into financial difficulty.
Private, under these circumstances, I'm afraid no loan company is going to lend you the money. You're simply a bad risk.
Yes, sir.
I'm afraid you're going to have to chalk this one up to experience. Maybe we can get the car dealer to take the car back, but you know you're going to lose money on it, don't you?
It's better than nothing, sir.
It's a tough way to solve a problem, I know. But the next time you get a car, go to a good car dealer, bring it to a mechanic, let him check it out, and then bring the contract back to me and let me see it before you sign it. Okay?
So they bought it back from you, huh?
Yep, for a lot less than I paid for it. But at least this check will help me pay off the note I signed. Sure wish that bus would come.
You've learned a lesson or two from this experience, haven't you?
You bet I have. I've learned everyone ought to have goals, and he ought to use his money to help achieve these goals. Then everyone ought to itemize his income and find out how much money he has after essentials to help achieve these goals. Of course, you got to make sure you don't spend more than you have. And that's where the wise use of credit comes in, to extend the amount of money you have in order to enjoy things now and pay for them out of future income. How am I doing?
So far, so good.
But you got to watch out for credit. It's a great convenience, and having a good credit rating is one of the greatest assets you can have, but credit obligates your future income. Use it unwisely, and you can be in financial trouble for months or years. You have to be sure the ease of credit doesn't tempt you into buying more than you can afford. You got to avoid buying things you don't need. When you do buy, it should be from a reputable merchant. You should never sign any contract until you understand what's in it. Make sure anything the salesman promises you is included. Let your legal assistance officer go over it with you. And you should think twice about getting married before you are ready for it financially. I guess it all boils down to this. Wise money management is many things. Using good common sense, not getting overextended, looking at the full price of every item you want to buy as if you're going to buy it with cash.
Right. And be sure to include the cost of financing, because borrowing money costs money.
Yeah, but how do I know how much it'll cost?
The place you borrow from is required by law to tell you the interest rate. Be sure they do.
Well, that sounds like good advice. Oh, here comes the bus back to the base. Well, it's been a rough day, but you can be sure I'll never do anything foolish again. So long. I forgot I didn't have any money. Only this check. Well, guess I'll walk back to the base.